Today we're going to take some thrift store frames like these and we're going to make some really fun chalkboards for back to school. My name is Cindy. I'm with reinventeddelaware.com and we love to teach how to upcycle and repurpose all sorts of thrift store items, and today we're going to share this project with you. The other supply that I will be using for this project is a piece of Luan. Luan is a very thin plywood. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to measure and make templates from the frames and cut each one out individually using my chop saw. Let me mention that I've made lots of these chalkboards, so I keep the vintage custom mix recipe right here on my workbench. It's 2 parts of Artismo that is now called ink blue and 3 parts boxwood, and it will create this color here that you see on this huge chalkboard. We'll talk about that more here in just a little bit. Let's mix the paint before we cut up the Luan. I'm going to take equal parts of the paint to water, and I'm going to add the water first to my container. This was about 3 tablespoons, give or take. I can always add more water, but I can't take it away. I'd have to add more paint if I had to. I'm gonna add the water first, then I'm just going to scoop my paint in there, and we're just gonna stir it up. It's best to let the paint set for a little while so that all of the dry powder can be absorbed into the water. All right, my frames are small, so I've decided to just use some copy paper from my printer to make the pattern. You can do this a couple different ways. You can either press this into the frame and make like a little indentation like that, and then you've got the exact measurement. Or what I've done before, you can lay the paper down, put the frame over top, and trace the circle, and know that you'll have to add the depth here to this circle so that it's big enough. And mine is about 1/4 of an inch. I'm real good at eyeballing things. So I could just go around and draw a line that's about 1/4 of an inch larger than that circle. One of my frames was pretty unique. Actually, I've seen this several times. The design of the frame is an oval. You can see it's an oval cutout, but on the back of it, they cut it out as a rectangle. See this here? So you can have a rectangle piece of board on the back, which is easier to cut than an oval or circle. And then you just fit it in there, but only the oval shows. So that's what I'll do for this one, for this larger frame that is very ornate and beautiful. I think I'll just flip it over on the back side, and then I will take a measurement of the rectangle from the inside corner all the way around so that I know exactly what size to cut the piece of Luan. I had to readjust my work area because I've done a rough cut on the circle. You can see the line. Now I'm going to fine tune that line working with a much smaller piece of wood. And I'm right-handed, so that means that I will be cutting off of this edge of the wood so that I don't cut into my workbench. And it got me to thinking that I better point out a safety feature about using a jigsaw. So a jigsaw, mine is plugged in. You might have a cordless one and then you don't have to worry about, but because I plug mine in, I want to make sure that this cord is behind the saw at all times. So I had to change where the cord is plugged in so that the cord is never in a situation where it's coming from the front and I could accidentally cut into it. I've got this cord well behind the saw so that I can see it and control it as I move my way around this circle. So this is the circle that I just cut, and this is the frame that it's supposed to fit, and I cut a little bit too big, but I'd rather cut it a little too big than I would too small. So you can see this is not fitting flush inside this recess. So I'm going to go back over this circle all the way around, and I'm going to take off just a little bit more. And it's okay if you're not exact, because you have, I don't know, it's not quite a 1/4 of an inch. Well, that might be a 1/4 of an inch. And that just gives you a little bit of play. So I'm going to go around the whole thing again until I get it to fit. All right, so I went about a width of the blade all the way around the whole thing. It's not a perfect circle. That's okay. Let's see how it fits. I think we're going to be okay this time. Ooh, it's a nice tight fit. I like that. And oh, that's going to look so cute, isn't it? All of the sections have been cut out, and I just want to go over something about that while I'm talking about Luan. Luan usually has a right side and a wrong side. One side is always a little rougher, and the other side is always a little smoother, at least in my experience. I've decided to try white wax on this very ornate large frame. So I have here Miss Mustard Seed's white wax and a little chip brush that I have cut off the edges so that the chip brush is good and stiff. I do this all the time. These are disposable. I love doing this. This is an easy step, and I think it's going to turn out really good because of all of the grooves in this ornate design here. Let's get a little bit of wax on the brush, and I'm just going to work it in. I just grabbed a blue shop towel, and I just kind of got it balled up, and all I'm going to do is go back and wipe it back a little bit. You can see that the wax kind of settles in. Okay, all the frames are done. They're just sitting aside waiting to be reassembled. Now let's deal with the actual boards themselves. I'm going to work on this black one. There can be a little bit of a rough texture on this surface once it's dry. So what I like to do is take a really worn out sanding sponge, and all you have to do is go over it lightly, just about that much, and it smooths it right out so nicely. Then when I'm finished, I take a piece of chalk and I scratch over full surface with the chalk. This helps to, whoops, if you can hold on to it, it ages, makes the chalkboard look old and aged. Once that's done, you want to take a dry paper towel and just take off the extra, whoops, take off the extra. I'm making a mess in here, but that's part of the fun of a project. And there you have an aged black chalkboard that is ready for any kind of writing, but we'll show you that part later. The same thing goes for the green one. Let's start putting the frames together. This is the round one, gold frame that we didn't do anything to except clean it really well. I like the way that it looks, the way that it is right now, so I'm going to leave it. Plus, I think it looks really good with the green, don't you think? This frame happened to have these pieces that will hold in whatever is on that side, so I decided to keep those, and it still has the hanger. I'm going to keep that as well. Drop the frame right in there, and then these pieces just turn and hold that in. Now mine, these are a little on the loose side. You can see there's quite a gap here, so this is what I'm going to do. Another option that you can do is run a bead of glue in this groove here. Just be sure that it's not going to be so much that it will come out from the front if it's here. So you can run a bead of glue around there. I'm not going to do that. I think that this is going to hold good enough for my purposes. Plus my board is a little large for the opening, so it's extra snug in there. And here is the next one. I already have the chalkboard put in the recess here. And I'm going to use these things. They're called glazing points. You can see this. It has a little sharp edge on it and then two ridges that you can use a chisel to press in. These would have been glazing points that would hold glass in a window pane back in the day. And all you do is you lay it down where you want it to be, and I'm going to put mine at like a 4, one at the top and bottom and 2 on the sides. So you put that in, and then you just press in with your chisel. And there you have it. Some of these, the little prongs here, are sticking up a little too far, and I wouldn't want that to scratch the wall that it hangs on. So I'll just use my hammer and tap them down. This frame did not have a hanger on it. Actually, it did. It had a hanger and I took it off. Remember, and I saved the little eye bolts. I cut off the wire and I saved the little eye bolts. I'm just going to remove the wire. Then I'm going to use some of this brown craft wire. It's really thin, really flexible, and I'm just going to make a new hanger for it. I decided on the back of this frame that I could not get these glazing points flat enough. So I put a heavy piece of this Gorilla tape, it's super heavy duty tape, right over top so that I know that it won't scratch up the wall. And it still looks kind of neat and clean. I'm happy with that. Then I added a hanger by adding just 2 short screws, making sure it would not come through to the front with that same wire that I used on the other one. And I have a nice little hanger for this one. So cute. Here is one last idea that you can do. I won't be doing this to this frame because I have a different plan for that spindle for our home. But I've done this with lots of frames in the past. You take a chair spindle, and I have quite a collection of these, and you can attach it to the frame with a little teeny tiny screw that's long that goes all the way through. Pre-drill the hole first so that you don't crack anything. And this can sit right here, and it creates a little ledge right here to hold a piece of chalk. It looks really cute. Our local customers have loved it, and I think that if you decide to do that with a spindle on your frame, you'll love it too. You can use these chalkboards for all sorts of things, even the small ones. Maybe you just want to put a word of encouragement right here. Each day you could change out the word. Let's just write a word really quick. With fall coming up, let's write the word thankful. There you have a nice little word to send off if you have this by your back door. Just a nice way to start your day. You can have this anywhere you want to have it. Maybe in the mornings when you're getting ready, you want to remind yourself of how blessed you are. And hang that by the spot in the morning where you get ready. That would be fun. And maybe here on a little tiny one like this, you could just draw a pretty little flower. A very simple sort of flower. I encourage you to get your kids involved and have them do some artwork here. And the great thing about this, when you're done with this artwork, all you have to do is take a dry paper towel and erase it. And that's it. If you ever decide that this chalkboard kind of needs to be resurfaced, get a damp paper towel, wipe it all down and let it dry completely, and then repeat the process with the side of the chalk over the whole thing and wipe it off with a dry paper towel, and you're good to go with a brand new chalkboard. This is one last thing that I want to show you what you can do with the chalkboard. This is a twin size headboard. It had a really flat area on the top of it. We added a hanger. You can see that it's a heavy duty chain hanger. We added our business information on here. You can see our website, where to follow us on the socials, and we even left the casters on the frame. Look at that, on the headboard. And then we painted the entire thing in chalkboard paint, and I only sealed the edges. You can tell where it's dark around the edges here. I only sealed the edges, and the interior sections here and here and in this bottom board, we did not seal it so that I could chalk it and change out the verbiage anytime I wanted to. This hung in our vendor spot. People loved it, and it really made people notice our vendor booth spot. So if you need a cheap sign for your vendor booth, look for a headboard or footboard that has a flat area like this one does, and get yourself a chalkboard and chalk it out with your business name on it. I hope you enjoyed this fun project. If you did, could you please subscribe to the channel down below, give us a thumbs up, and hey, leave a comment and let us know how you would use one of these chalkboards in your home, or if you're interested in making lots of them to sell in your vendor booth. If you need any supplies for your framed chalkboard project, you'll see the link below, and be sure to use my code 10OFFRD for 10% off. You'll see the code down below in the description. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.